2099. Sorry. Yes. Okay. We have to take into account that López Obrador and Donald Trump were not friends. When López Obrador arrives to the presidency in Mexico in December of 2018, the relations with the US are very, very, very conflictive. And between December of 2018 and June of 2019, the conditions of the relations are in a tremendous chaos and pressure by the United States to stop the migrants from Central America to Mexico. Donald Trump put on the table the cancellation of the trade with Mexico and menaced to the Mexican government to put 25% of taxes to the Mexican exports to the United States. But with the agreement, the migration from Central America stops in 90%, stops the migration from Central America to the United States, to the northern border of Mexico and the southern border of the United States. And with this starts a very close friendship between both presidents. The capture of General Cienfuegos was a case, a research case, an investigation case of the DEA against him. And in theory, this agency works with autonomy of the federal government in the United States. And their research, their investigations has many years to create a big case to capture one very important military in Mexico, the former Secretary of Defense between 2012 and 2018. Cienfuegos was a prominent member of the Enrique Peña Nieto's cabinet. Well, with the capture in Los Angeles, Cienfuegos was sent to New York to be to the court of the Eastern Brooklyn in the south of the state of New York, with other criminals or other people who was accused by the DEA, as Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán and the former Secretary of Public Safety in Mexico, Genaro Garcia Luna, with the same lawyers, etc., etc. Cienfuegos start a defense case with the same lawyer of Genaro Garcia Luna, who was accused also to work with El Chapo Guzmán. Well, what happened in this month? From the October 15 to November the 18th, 33 days, all the people in Mexico and the United States think that Cienfuegos don't have another escape and to be all his life in jail, but starts a secret political agreement between Trump and López Obrador. And López Obrador has the pressure of the army to do this and start a political agreement to send to Cienfuegos to Mexico with the compromise of the Mexican authorities, Mexican new fiscal authorities, to start an investigation following the case of the New York judge. Well, what happened with this? The Mexican government asked what is happening with the accusation, and the DEA gave the Mexican authorities a folder with followed with 751 pages. Was incredible, the accusation, because this folder, this archive of documents, are only copies of communications between Cienfuegos and some people, but nobody knows exactly if Cienfuegos stay following this. Is a great non-certainly accusation, because they have nicknames, etc., etc. Well, the Mexican government don't like this document of the DEA, and he sent to the public the complete document open, all the pages open. And with this starts a big conflict with the government of the United States, because is one document property of the government of the United States. 2 days later, the Mexican government sent to the public the Mexican investigations at 100,000 pages, but 90% in black. What's the problem with this? The Mexican sent to the public, well, the DEA file is 100% open. All the people can read that. And the Mexican file is theoretically transparent, but nobody can read except 5% of the document. In Mexico starts a big conflict with the media, with the public opinion, because said, well, with the US document is 100% transparency, and with the Mexican public is 95% in black pages. Well, with this, the Mexican government says that Cienfuegos is a free man. He don't have responsibility to have relations with the drug traffickers, etc., etc., etc. Well, what happened with this? In the media public opinion, we saw two different points of view. One following the government argument and the army argument, who says that Cienfuegos is a free man, he is not responsible to have relations with the drug traffickers, etc., etc., etc. And other public opinion we have more information. We have the Mexican document free to see what is happening with the content of the Mexican document, and we have the depth of the accusation against Cienfuegos, because the Mexican document, we cannot read that document. And this is the big debate. What happened with this debate? Well, the president, López Obrador, has built in these 2 years of his government a very strong relations with the army and in general with the armed forces. And he's protecting all the army, all the members of the army against accusations. And he don't start any accusations against any military in any case, except 1 or 2 cases who escape of the government control. But what happened with the relations between the United States government and the Mexican government? My opinion is the 2 governments start a very, very, very worst judiciary cases. The file of the DEA on Cienfuegos in New York is very weak to say that he is responsible to have relations with the drug traffickers. And the treatment between the 2 governments is not a judiciary treatment. It's a political agreement between the 2 governments. With this, all the Mexicans has the doubt what happened with Cienfuegos. Inside the armed forces says, well, Cienfuegos is innocent. He's not in fault, etc., etc., and he is a free man. But the people says, well, we want a profound investigation against his his houses, his cars, his banking accounts, etc., etc., to know why the Mexican government says he's not a corrupted person. But this is right now the essence of the case. Well, we can start with a second part of this conversation, the civil-military relations in Mexico and the question of the democracy in Mexico. We have to take into account the historic trajectory of the democracy in Mexico. We have 20 years of democracy in Mexico since the year 2000, when the PRI left the government in favor of the PNI and led by his candidate to the presidency, Vicente Fox. This moment was a moment to open formally the democracy, electoral democracy, political democracy. The Congress arrives at the Congress many politicians from the opposition parties, mainly the Partido Acción Nacional, National Action Party from the right, and the PRD Partido de la Revolución Democrática from the left. And the Congress has more political parties, but was former 80% of the Congress is moving the balance between these three political conditions. Well, what happened with Vicente Fox? Vicente Fox don't do nothing to change the civil-military relations in the same direction of the majority of the governments or the political forces who arrives to the democracy in Latin America. What's the issue? In the years of the Mexican authoritarianism and the Mexican monolithic political system led by the PRI, the official party from 1929 to the year 2000, 31 years of one party who monopolizes the political life in Mexico. The military has many power, but the civilians has the control of the military and they have a very good relation. And the military has a kind of autonomy from the civilians, and also only they act to solve some political crisis in some moments, like the student movement in 1968, or the guerrilla crisis in the 70s. This moment of the Mexican political life is called by the dirty war, Guerra Sucia, dirty war against the leftist guerrillas, as in many countries in Latin America. And then in the year 2000, Vicente Fox don't want to change the nature of the relations with the military, and the military follows to lead the Ministry of Defense. We don't have civilians inside the defense system in Mexico, and we have two Secretary of States led by the military, the Navy and the Army. The Army is 70% of the armed forces, and the Navy is 30% of the armed forces. Obviously, with this, the Army has more political power than the Navy. And the Navy is in charge of the protection of the coasts in Mexico. And also, a very important mission for the armed forces in Mexico is to support the population when we suffer natural disasters like hurricanes, etc., or earthquakes, etc. No? But the military has, at the same time, many political activities who came from the 100 years before. They built roads, they worked many times in substitution of the Ministry of Communications and Transports, etc. And right now, the military has more than 20 non-military missions. The most important of this is to help the government to support the public safety corporations, the police corporations. And in fact, the federal police in Mexico disappeared 2 years ago. Well, with this, all the people are talking about a big militarization in Mexico right now in these 2 years. Well, what happened with the current relations between the President López Obrador and the military? In the past, López Obrador is a populist president and comes from the grassroots movements to the presidency in a very long work of 20 years to be the president of Mexico. Before of this, he was mayor of Mexico City for 5 years between the year 2000 and 2005. But in these years, López Obrador talks a lot against the armed forces, against the militarization, against the power of the military. He says that the military causes major violations of human rights during many years. He is responsible of the drug war with connection with the US military forces and police forces and intelligence agencies, etc. And López Obrador talks a lot the demilitarization of the political system, and put the military in their garrisons, send the military to their garrisons, and organize a big police agencies to control the public safety crisis in Mexico. But, well, when he wins the election on July of 2018, he starts a big communication with the armed forces, and he has 5 months to build a new relation with the armed forces. In these 5 months, from June of 2018 to December of 2018, he built a very good communication with General Salvador Cienfuegos because he was the defense ministry. Then he changed Cienfuegos, obviously, and starts a new communication with the army with a very close friend of him to start the relation with the military in the defense ministry. And he names many military people in the security cabinet of the Mexican government. And he starts to build a new institution, who is the National Guard. And the National Guard is trying to substitute the military in the control of the public safety in Mexico and in the war of drug trafficking. Well, with this, he puts out of the game of the politics the federal police and organizes a new military branch to face the challenge of security in Mexico, mainly the drug trafficking and the public safety. Well, what happened with the National Guard? The National Guard has to organize a new body. The commander is a general, and try to build many things to substitute the army and the navy in his jobs in the military states. He names a lot of generals, bosses of the National Guard, etc. Right now, the National Guard is 100,000 members organization. 80% of them came from the army and the navy. The others are civilians who was working in the federal police, in the scientific police, in the training of new police forces, etc., etc. But in Mexico, as a big country, Mexico has states and counties and municipios in Spanish. And the municipalities has the responsibility to organize the public safety labor in Mexico. Well, with this starts many contradictions between the constitution who authorizes to the local governments to have police corporations, the states who have police corporations, and the federal government. The federal government put out the federal police and starts to create the National Guard. Well, with this, to organize this, there are many confusions in the level of security in the government. And in the year 2019, goes up the homicides in Mexico, the rate of homicides in Mexico, because the criminal organizations see this confusion inside the government, reorganization of the security institutions in the government in his favor. And the many criminal organizations start offensives against the government because there are many confusions who is in charge of that job. Well, when the pandemic started in Mexico in March of the year 2020, the pandemic put other labors to the military to protect hospitals, etc., etc. 40,000 people from the military are looking and working for the government efforts to attend the COVID-19 effort. Well, what happened with this? Less people inside the military and the National Guard are working, attending the drug trafficking and the public safety requirements of the government. With this is in favor of the criminal organizations and in favor of his activities around the country. Well, back to the Cienfuegos debate and Cienfuegos case. What the government and the Mexican government shows to the population, well, put all his efforts to save a man in the army. Very famous man, of course, but all the people says, well, this is not a problem of the government. Cienfuegos is a retired general, and in the army they say as Cienfuegos is the representation of the army, the representation of national security, and they built a nationalist speech to the United States, and they say, well, we don't like the DIA in our country because are doing activities against the military and not against the criminal organizations. With this, to end my conversation and to start the dialogue with you, the Mexican government made a change in one law of the national security law presented to the Congress by Vicente Fox in the year 2005. And this law are very generic. They don't have specifications for national security issues in Mexico, etc. But the new amendment in January says that conditions for the foreign agents in the embassies to work in Mexico. And all the people says, well, why a conflict with the DIA causes a big international conflict? Because all the embassies who have intelligence activities in Mexico are in problems right now by the case of Cienfuegos. Well, what happened with this? For example, the Israeli government says, well, we don't know what is happening in Mexico, but obviously the Israelis has many intelligence activities against the international terrorism in Mexico, and the Mossad works in Mexico, but this is not recognized itself. And some analysts says, well, for example, if the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Foreign Affairs representative of the Mexican government, Marcelo Ebrard, says, well, we will have a phone call with the Israeli ambassador, and who will be the response of the Israeli ambassador? We don't know the Mossad, we don't have any agent in Mexico. And exactly the same with the US agencies, because the crisis is with one agency, the DIA, but not the other agencies. The US Embassy in Mexico has one of the biggest intelligence apparatus around the world. 20 different intelligence agencies from the US government, federal US government, works in Mexico. The National Security Agency, the CIA, etc., etc., etc. The Cartographic Defense Agency. Many of these agencies are working in Mexico with the authorization of the Mexican government, but many of these agencies don't tell the Mexican government the amount of his agents in Mexico, because they contract many Mexicans who live in the United States. Many of them have the Mexican nationality and the US nationality, and nobody knows exactly how many US agents works in Mexico. The embassy has small teams of people working legally, but the others are Mexicans working in Mexico. This is one of the biggest problems. Well, with this, the last information on this affair is that the Mexican government authorizes all the US intelligence agencies to work in Mexico except the DIA. And the Mexican government says, well, the 50 recognized legally DIA agents in Mexico, 40 of them goes back to the United States. Only the DIA has 10 agents in Mexico, office agents working in the embassy. This crisis create this kind of response of the Mexicans. Well, with this, the army is talking about a nationalist response to fight the drug trafficking issue. They are talking about, we don't need cooperation with the US government to fight the drug trafficking. Our generals, our colonels are not involved with drug trafficking activities. They are not corrupted people, etc., etc. But nobody knows exactly what will be the attitude of other security agencies of the Mexican government, include the Navy, because the Navy works a lot with the US agencies to capture drug traffickers who came from Colombia by sea in the Pacific. And also the Navy is the most important institution in Mexico to capture the big lords of the drug trafficking organizations with the work together with the U.S. agencies, with the DIA. For example, El Chapo Guzman was captured with the cooperation of the DIA and the Mexican Navy and the Pentagon, the Northern Command. This openly, they recognize this in press communiques in the moment when the El Chapo was captured in Sinaloa. With this, my final reflections with talk with you is how we can fight the organized crime, how we can fight the criminal organizations to be success on this. My idea, and not mine, many people are talking the same, is not facing directly with soldiers the issue, is with intelligence, with information, with exchange of financial information, with a big intelligence effort in the property office, the properties office in Mexico, who knows who is the owner of how many houses, etc., with the banking system, etc., is the best way to fight criminal organizations, and obviously combating the corruption, not only inside the army, in the whole government, because in many states of the country, the governors are accused with work with criminal organizations in their states, accused by the U.S. courts. For example, the judiciary system of Texas has more than 100 cases of local authorities in Mexico involved in drug trafficking. Mexico don't recognize this. Who gives the information to the Texas judiciary authorities? The intelligence agencies, the U.S. intelligence agencies. If we pull out with a nationalist response, these agencies will be the paradise of the criminal organizations in Mexico. This is my hypothesis, but it's not mine. Many analysts support the same idea. Well, I think with this, we can start a dialogue with with all the people who are attending this conference. Thank you very much, Edme, to have the opportunity to start a dialogue with you and your students and people who are attending the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Raul. Now I mute myself. Before letting people coming in with all their questions, I'm sure there will be questions. I would like to ask you something, some of the things, to clarify some of the things that you were saying. So your position says, if I understand it right, that if you stop all these intelligence activities from American intelligence services, there will be a stop of this war against the crime, that you cannot do anything else. I mean, that just trusting Mexican authorities is completely wrong, because there's a lot of corruption within the government. And I suppose that within the Guardia Nacional, within the police and within the army, etc. But the Mexican government, they want to break relations with the DIA and the DIA's presence in Mexico, but not with the rest of the agencies working in the United States. Is that correct?
Yes and no. Many U.S. agencies works in Mexico with authorization or without authorization of the Mexican government. Why? Because many of these investigations are with the media instruments. For example, following the phone conversations, WhatsApp, etc., etc. And the U.S. government has a very sophisticated electronic intelligence system in Mexico without persons. The use of persons in intelligence is a very traditional activity, but the intelligence right now need electronic intervention of many communications, banking communications, etc., and human activities. The Mexican government don't know many of this electronic activity in Mexico and around the world. The US government don't tell the Mexicans what they are doing with this. And also the human activity agents, physical agents in Mexico, the US government obviously don't tell the Mexican government, don't send information of them to the Mexican government by obvious reasons, because it's the way that they work and the lack of trust with the Mexican authorities. It's the both things, because the US government works in the same way around the world. In Sweden, in France, in Spain, for many things, they don't need persons, they don't need agents. They use computer systems, interferation, they put in WhatsApp, Facebook, etc., many activities, and with the banks. Because of this, if we have a nationalist attitude to that, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Another question that I would like you to clarify as well. So the defense of López Obrador, of Cienfuegos, of this retired general, it is because he is pressed by the army to defend him? Or do you think that he really believes that Cienfuegos is innocent?
I think both. López Obrador is a populist leader, and if one institution is helping them to govern, he starts to believe in their members. Cienfuegos and López Obrador, during the government of Peña Nieto, don't have good relations. They have many debates. In many cases, Cienfuegos organize press conferences against the populist leaders in Mexico who are accusing the army of human rights, mainly for the accusations of the left in Mexico related with human rights. López Obrador, in a visit to Washington, D.C. in the year 2017 to the Organization of American States, he says clearly the army is involved in many human rights violations in Mexico. And Cienfuegos was the boss. And the army responded to that conference in the moment with a long accusation to the left in Mexico, telling that they don't have concrete information, only they receive opinions of the local press in some places, etc. But López Obrador says that because the case of the disappearance of 43 students in 2014. Then, when he won the presidency in July, and he needs to have connections with the military institutions, and he starts conversations with Cienfuegos. All the people say that Cienfuegos responds very well to him and starts a kind of good relation with them. And then, when López Obrador starts the presidency, López Obrador orders don't have investigations to the members of the Army and Navy related with human rights, because they convince the president that they are doing the job, and the job is a difficult job and have many consequences, but many soldiers they are not responsible of the violations of human rights. And it starts a big debate. But López Obrador changed their mind related with the biggest, top generals inside the army, and he is protecting them. But they are helping him to do many things. They are building a new airport. They are building a new oil installation or oil facility in the Gulf, etc. They are helping the government to build a tourist train in Yucatan, etc. Things who the people are criticizing this because are civilians activities, are civilians constructions.
Mm. So you say that he is protecting them because of this, but he really thinks, or he really believes, that all these accusations against Cienfuegos were invented, fabricated by DIA. He really believes that.
Well, this is the problem in the crisis with the DIA. The DIA file is very weak to support the accusation against Cienfuegos. The DIA has a non-institutional speaker. The former lead of the DIA to Latin America, his name is Mark Vigil, a Mexican, but works for the DIA for 4 years. Vigil made many interviews in the Mexican press, in the Mexican TV, in the US TV, telling this is a 5% of the file. If they want more information, we have all the information reserved by the New York court. This is to start the investigations. But the DIA gave the Mexican authorities only this file of 751 pages. The file is very weak. And for this, the Mexican president says that this is a fabric of lies against Cienfuegos. This is not serious to support the accusation against Cienfuegos. And this is true. This is not serious to support the accusation. But where is the Mexican file to demonstrate that Cienfuegos is not in fault?
Mm.
It's a big debate. No?
Mm. Okay, then thank you, Raul. Then we start. If anybody wants to put something in the chat or raise your hand or whatever in order to intervene, please do. Is anybody interested to start? ¿Alguien quiere empezar? Que se atreva a querer empezar. Okay, Leonardo, please, you can, let me see. Raúl. No, I don't know. Can you write your question, because I don't know how to give you the word. Yes, I would like to make you to be able to give you the mic, but this is the first time I coordinate this webinar, so I don't know how to do that. But try to write the question, please. What does that DIA mean? DEA.
I'm looking at one question of Ana Paula Lafer.
Yes.
The speculation of a coup d'etat in Mexico.
Mm.
No, nobody are talking about that. A coup d'etat is a mechanism to change a government when the distance between a president and the military institutions is very big.
Mm.
And we don't see this in Mexico right now. It's the contrary. The relation between the president and the military institution is very strong. There is no distance. The president is defending the military institutions all the time. Because of this, a coup is not possible right now. There is another one, Julieta Rivero. Do you think that the army is putting pressure on AMLO, or is it a simple alliance base in all these infrastructure and important projects going on? Well, all the people in Mexico are talking that in October, the army put a lot of pressure to López Obrador. And he menaced the president to stop all the US cooperation in defense issues if the president don't help the army to to negotiate with the United States the liberation of Cienfuegos.
I have found a way to make you tag. So if anybody wants to speak, please raise your hand. So I can open your microphone.
There is another question here, Angela Keisu. What might have been the outcome of for the Mexican government if they would have decided to charge Cienfuegos in terms of their relationship with the military, for example? Well, if the Mexican government starts real investigations on Cienfuegos and they find non-regular things or corruption by Cienfuegos, I think they don't show to the public this. The Mexican investigations was the fastest investigation around the world against one very complicated case. Was start on November the 18th and ends in the mid-January. 2 months of investigation. In Mexico, the justice don't work at this speed. In any part of the world, in 2 months, it's impossible to find evidence against Cienfuegos. And all the people, said that this research, this investigation was in favor of Cienfuegos all the time. To don't find guilty, to don't find corruption.
Yeah, there's another one.
Another one. Will he be prosecuted in a future? For example, at the end of this administration? You are talking about the president of Efraín Calderón, the president of Cienfuegos, prosecuted in a future, Cienfuegos or the president?
Cienfuegos, I suppose.
It's very difficult in 4 years if all the activity of the Mexican attorney office are in favor of non-guilt, to declare non-guilt to Cienfuegos, to open a new investigation. Needs to arrive to the presidency one person who don't have good relations with the army. And this is very difficult to find. There is no people inside the political parties who have the military as enemies. And Morena, the party of the president, has against him the military, but with this support of the president López Obrador to Cienfuegos, inside Morena, they change their opinion. And if Morena wins in 4 years the presidency, nobody knows, will support the military at the same time, at the same way than do the López Obrador presidency, I think.
Have you answered all the questions?
Is this what does DIA mean? There is a question. DIA is a defense intelligence agency. It's different than the CIA and it's different than the DIA. DIA is the DIA who accused Cienfuegos. Is an agency inside the Department of Justice, and DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, is inside the Pentagon. Because of this, many people don't have the knowledge to distinguish the different agencies who are working in Mexico, US agencies who are working in Mexico. The US government has more than 50 agencies doing intelligence out of the country, and 20 of them are working in Mexico.
Have you answered this about why then could Marcelo Ebrard say that it could be a waste of time to take Cienfuegos back to Mexico if they were not attempting to really have a proper trial?
I don't know. I think Marcelo Ebrard is working also with the military and was one of the branch of the government who organized the political negotiation with the U.S. government, with the Donald Trump's government, related with the case of Cienfuegos. And if Marcelo Ebrard could be the candidate for the presidency in Mexico, nobody knows, but he will have the support of the military and he will support the military in the two ways, from him to the military and back.
Mm.
Jenica?
I had a question, yeah. Oh, I can speak in the microphone, sorry.
Yeah.
Now, I was just wondering because what is the state now of these? I mean, there was these connections of Cienfuegos also with the, as you mentioned, with the disappearance of the students of Ayotzinapa, and somehow AMLO had also promised to solve this case and to really, like, I don't know, get to the bottom of it and tell the truth about it, like to challenge this historical truth of the past government. So how does this paradox can work now when this is happening with Cienfuegos now?
Yes, well, in the last month appears a new information about the Ayotzinapa case and the disappearance of the 43 students. One information mentioned that one witness of this tell that a group of students was in the military garrison, in the 43 military garrison in the city of Iguala, and then the military gives these students to the one criminal group, the Guerreros Unidos group. But it's only one testimony and nobody supports this information more than the witness. In real terms, this starts to be opened this file and nobody knows what will happen with this. Obviously, the army will try to pull out the investigation, this information, but nobody knows. And nobody knows if it happened, if Cienfuegos did the order, because that day, September 19 of 2014, the things that happened in Iguala that day are very confused by many actors, and nobody knows if the military acted with independence of his boss or not. This is not clarified right now by investigations. No? I think the file is open with this hypothesis. No?
But somehow he was also one of the people that really didn't want the army to be investigated further, right? He was really putting an obstacle to this, like.
Yes, he's in jail, one low-rank military, because this. But nobody knows if the accusation of this incident goes up in the military chain of command. To Cienfuegos, obviously. No?
Thank you.
There is another question here. ¿Cómo está reaccionando la sociedad civil ante el cambio de discurso y la militarización? Have you answered that?
Yes, Ana Paula Balafer. Yes, well, the civil society in Mexico has two different attitudes. There is one civil society in Mexico organized in NGOs, in civil agrupations, etc., who are criticizing the government because of militarization. But the government has in his favor the pulse. The Mexican population in general, the poor people, etc., is supporting the militaries and supporting López Obrador. They like very much López Obrador. The last information says that López Obrador has the support of 58% of the Mexicans, and the army and the navy has the support of the 75 or 80% of the people. It depends of the institution who organized the poll. But with this, López Obrador don't have a big opposition to the militarization mainly among the poor people. The poor people is supporting this because López Obrador has many populistic measures towards the poor people. He supports with amounts of money. He supports fellowships for the young people to study in some universities, in some schools, etc., etc. for the elderly, López Obrador has a credit card to give money month by month to the people, and this like very much to the poor people in Mexico. In real terms, he has the support of the poor people in Mexico. But if we compare this kind of support with other countries of Latin America, Hugo Chavez has the same support 20 years ago.
Mm.
And in Argentina, some people, Bolsonaro, at the same time, the first year of his government has this kind of support. Right now, no, he don't have support. But because his populist speech and the measures towards the poor people, he has the support. This can change. Nobody knows. And the COVID crisis can change the balance of the support of the people to the president. But right now, he's in a good position with the people.
Okay. Eloina has written something very long here, but Eloina, perhaps you can, let me see if I can put you, so you can, Eloina, so you can speak and make the question. Eloina?
I can read the comment of the Eloina's comment. His mention is following the same idea. Because the defense of Cienfuegos can't create a political support of the people against the president, I think no. I think the government will dead the Cienfuegos case in the file, and they don't want more debate in the press. And the Mexican government has many tools to put pressure in the media, to the media, mainly the TV, not the intellectuals, etc., or the civil society organizations, but to the TV, who is the way that López Obrador has the strong communication with the people. The Cienfuegos case is don't affect the support of the people to the president.
Mm-hmm. There was another thing in the chat. Sí, the participants cannot see what Eloina wrote. So can you say that, what Eloina has asked?
Eloina says, do you think AMLO is already dead, political, I mean, for the accept and do so fast the trial to Cienfuegos and get the decision that he isn't guilty? I think they do that, and I think the president and the Mexican attorney general, the new fiscal, don't change their opinion. I think they want to say, well, this file is closed. They want to say that, and I think they will be possible for their goals, because all the 70% of the Mexican public opinion is looking in the TV, the news on the COVID-19. Mexico is one of the worst countries to attend the COVID-19, and right now there is a big crisis in Mexico City. And because of this, the president can't put out of the media the Cienfuegos case.
There's another question here. How do you foresee the relations between AMLO and the military for the next years? Do you expect any specific ramifications of this issue?
Well, yes. It depends of the elections, the midterm elections in July of this year, because we have 15 governors to change, and we have the complete Chamber of Deputies to change, 500 deputies. If the president and his party, Morena, wins the majority, they will not have problems. But if the presidents don't receive the majority of the people, the Chamber of Deputies will change against the president. But it's very early to say he will win the election, or the opposition parties will take advantage of these conditions. It's very difficult to say this because nobody knows what will happen with the vaccine, etc., etc. Other things who can move the attitude of the people to the president.
But you don't see any possible ramifications of this?
No. The military are comfortable with the president attitudes to them. And in the president will be in power 4 years more. The military right now needs the president to have the same attitudes to them, and because he is defending them right now. And I think this will not change.
Mm. There's Leonardo who writes, how do you define the following concepts: nationalism, exoneration, potential criminals, populists?
Well, well, this is a theoretical issue. In Mexico, nationalism starts with the Mexican Revolution.
Mm.
But inside the military, this starts before, because the Mexican-US War in 1848. Mexico loses the territory in favor of the United States 170 years ago. And this issue is studied by the militaries in all the schools, and they have any kind of animosity towards the United States because this. Populism in Mexico starts in the 20th century, mainly by President Lázaro Cárdenas. And he combined the populism is the way that the president connect with the people, their feelings to support the president. And the president uses a nationalist speech to enforce the populism. Exoneration is the way that the president concentrates powers in his hands to exonerate people, criminals, people or not. These powers are legal or not legal. It's the concentration of in his person the powers, and are not non-right powers in many cases. Potential criminals, for example, López Obrador put on the table many potential criminals. In his words is the corruption. The corruption is the enemy of Mexico in the words of the presidency. And he opened many files against many corrupted people in Mexico. And he linked the speech of the Mexican poor people is poor because the corruption. And the poor people believes in that and gives support to the president because they believe that the president is working against these corrupt people, and this will have benefits to the poor people in Mexico. This is the way that the president is working and building his speech, and have good results for the president.
Okay. Any more comments or questions?
I don't see any more comments.
No, and I don't see any more questions.
I don't know if you want to say something about the Mexican political conditions right now.
Yes, I mean, it could be very interesting to know a little bit more. What do you think will be the outcome of these elections, the midterm elections? And also, I mean, I know many people, especially, as you say, people that have not very good incomes, are protecting or are supporting López Obrador, but he has also gone into so many mistakes, or what I regard as mistakes in his austerity programs, that he has also a lot of people that previously were supporting him and now are against him. So how do you see the situation?
Well, the thing is, the bad economic conditions of many people is not a question of today.
No.
But in real terms, the unemployment is growing very fast with the COVID-19 crisis. This could be affect the president image at the mid of the year. This is one possibility. But other possibility is the president starts new social programs to help the people to have more money in their pockets, similar than in United States with at the Mexican size, obviously, no? The Mexican government don't have the amount of money to spread between the populations that the US government has. But the president is a very well communicator with the population. He makes many tours by all the country. Right now, the last week, he organizes a tour in 3 states of the northern Mexico. He catch the COVID-19,
Yes.
and nobody knows what will happen with his health. But the people is talking that in favor of the health of the president, etc., etc., etc. One of the things that we don't speak right now in the conference is the relation with the United States. Nobody knows what will be the response of the Biden administration towards Mexico with this kind of political negotiation with the justice. Nobody knows if the new justice secretary in the United States will change the decisions or will start another investigations. Nobody knows.
Mm.
The DEA, the Drugs Enforcement Agency, want to start another accusation against Cienfuegos, but the DEA is not independent of the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is not independent of President Biden. Because of this, nobody knows if the new administration in the United States will change. My guess is they are thinking right now in solve the migration conflicts right now. And there's some drug trafficking conflicts like the fentanyl consumption crisis in the United States, because the fentanyl pills came from Mexico. And one of the big efforts of the DEA is to stop this traffic of pills, fentanyl pills, to the United States. But it's very difficult to know if there will be a reaction against the Mexican government or not right now. We don't have information on that because only the both presidents have a phone conversation 2 years ago, and they say, well, we are talking about the migrants, the border, the environment, etc. They don't mention the Cienfuegos crisis. They don't mention the security crisis in Mexico. Obviously, they don't mention the crisis relation between the militaries in Mexico and with the United States, or the reborn of the nationalism inside the military branches in Mexico. They don't talk about that. I think the Biden is in the way that he starts his relations with other countries, very decent people, but nobody if he will start hard measures against Mexico. The style of Donald Trump, obviously, nobody will use in the future in the United States government, at least by the coming years. No?
Yes, there are 2 more comments here. Julieta Rivera, what do you think was the real reason from the US to raise the charges against Cienfuegos? What kind of pressure was intended from the US on this action?
Well, I think the real reason is because they find something related with Cienfuegos.
Mm.
Nobody knows if this information is hard information or weak information, but the file that we know is weak. But nobody knows if they have more very good information against the general. And if they have, nobody knows if the Department of Justice will want to put or to the press or to the judges to restart a new judge against Cienfuegos. But the US has clearly the idea by the Mexican government that if they restart the the judge, the trial, the Mexican government will defend Cienfuegos with all the Mexican diplomatic resources. This is obvious, no?
Mm. There's another. What is AMLO's response to potential activists' criticism of how this crisis is handled? What ideas? It's in the chat. How is AMLO's response to potential activists' criticism of how this crisis is handled? What those AMLO responses reflect?
I don't know. AMLO is not a predictable president. AMLO reacts to the things of the moment. He's very personalist person. He don't receive advisory ideas of his team. Because of this, he's a pragmatic president who is like, he's doing responses as he think. Many of these responses are done with the consultation of their officials. For example, one of these is with the crisis of Julian Assange, involved with the Swedish issue. In London, the judiciary authorities don't want to send Julian Assange to the US authorities. Well, that's fine. And nobody knows why AMLO in one conference says, we will give political asylum to Julian Assange.
Yes.
Because the Mexican government don't have anything with Julian Assange, nothing in favor or nothing against Julian Assange. This is a kind of, nobody knows. Why he said that, nobody knows. And obviously, he don't repeat the idea. But he speaks about Julian Assange without consultation with anybody in his government.
In that, Raul, I think in that sense, he's very much like Trump.
Yes.
And do you think that's another reason why they had such a good relationship?
Could be. But the thing with Trump is Trump lies a lot. AMLO lies not a lot, but sometimes. Because the press is, any speech of AMLO is analyzing by the press, by the specialists, by the commentators, etc., etc. Trump has 100 lies by a day with the tweets. AMLO not 100, but 2 or 3 or 4. Some days not, some days has more. For example, with the issue of the vaccine, AMLO promises the AstraZeneca's vaccine. 15 days ago, he says that all the population of 60 or more years will have the vaccine in March. And he is not paying in advance the vaccine to AstraZeneca, and AstraZeneca announces he don't have vaccines to Mexico. Obviously, the affirmation of the president, the idea of the president supported 15 days ago is a lie, because the Mexican government don't pay in advance the vaccine, but the people believes in that. Well, all in the TV, in the radio stations, all the people who knows the issue says, well, where are the vaccines? Why the president support the idea that he can put the vaccine to 15 million people, because Mexico has 130,000 million people, and the people who has more than 60 years old is 15 million people. But today they say we don't have the vaccine. What is happening is a lie. But he says that, he mentioned that all the time, kind of these ideas. But the poor people believes in that. The poor people don't read the newspapers, don't read the internet. Only they see the president in the TV. That's it.
There are 2 more comments. Do you think the fact that AMLO or Morena does have another strong party opposition is impacting?
Sorry, the sound of the communication is not very good. Can you repeat, please?
Do you think the fact that AMLO or Morena don't have any strong opposition is impacting in the military issue?
No. The military issue is outside the way that AMLO and Morena built the support of the population. Only the support of the military is to support his government plans, but not to have or to help the president to have good connection with the people. The Mexican populism is direct the president with the people, and Morena is more weak than AMLO in the political support. In the polls, the people is not supported Morena 100%, then they support AMLO. Morena has 40 or 45% of the support of the population, and AMLO has 55, 57, or 60% of the support of the population. It's a big difference between Morena and AMLO.
There's another comment. Is there any other international institution or any country who usually cooperates with Mexico that is criticizing Mexico because of this? I don't think so.
No. Mexico is not in the list of countries who are in the eyes of international organizations. Only, for example, the Human Rights United Nations Office, or some branches of the Organization of American States, the human rights branches. But in general, the international organizations don't have AMLO or Mexico in their eyes.
So, and there's no other question, but a question from me. Do you think that AMLO is capable of keeping this support that you have emphasized during the rest of his period? So high support.
I don't know. Nobody knows. It's very difficult to say what will be the support to AMLO by the poor population with the increasing of deaths by the COVID or the increasing of the unemployment. Well, what will be the support of lack of support because this causes? Nobody knows. But the real fact is the opposition parties in Mexico, the people don't like.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, I have a question. For people who work at Mexican Army, what do you think is the message to get them for this decision? I mean, Cienfuegos isn't guilty, and cartels as well, because even there, they definitely are involved.
Well, the opinion, the many Mexicans' opinion to the DEA, they are a foreign agency and they don't have the authorization to work in Mexico spying people. Many people say that. But this is an opinion of people created by the media, official media, but the TV works together, all of them supporting the president. It's very difficult to know if these people change this opinion in the future. I don't have information to support us that. Don't have idea. The future in Mexico is very uncertainly right now.
There are some more questions, but I'm afraid this is going to end because this is program only 1.5 hours. So we have to start wrapping up and thanking Raul for all this. Very interesting information, very interesting presentation, and his answering of all our questions. And if anybody's interested in continuing this discussion with him, I don't know if you are willing to give them your email to participants here, so you can write it perhaps in the chat, Raul.
Yes, of course, no problem with me.
Or Yes, or you can ask me, you can write to me, and I will send his email so you can continue asking him on this very interesting issue. So thank you very, very much, Raul, and we hope to have you again in the future.
Okay.
Organize something else to continue this conversation.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye
you,
to all of you.
everybody, and
Yes.
see you for the next webinar. Bye-bye.
Bye.